everybody, it's me again. So I wanted to make a video and do like Ask Me Anything, but I think because I'm very new to this, I didn't get the responses I was hoping for. So that video I'm probably going to save for a video when I have a higher following on my YouTube channel. I have been thinking about it, kind of going back and forth on what I want to do for my second video, and I think I've come to the conclusion that myself, is what's really important for you guys to know. So that way, you know, I'm not just another person you see on YouTube, you know, doing all this stuff. You kind of know me as a person, and what I've been through, I think, defines, for the most part, who I am. So we'll just jump into it. I'm gonna make 2 videos. So there's gonna be a part 1, which is obviously this part, and then there will be the part 2. So that way it's not like a long video, because there's a lot. And I've been through a lot of things in my life, and I want to kind of touch on it. I'll skip through, you know, obviously years that were kind of just nonsense, and focus on important focal points. So I'll start it off. When I was 9 years old, my parents got divorced. Like, unfortunately, most people's parents, you know, get divorced. That's the kind of generation we live in. Hate to say it, but it's true. So that happened when I was 9, and my sisters went to live with my dad. It was a pretty ugly divorce, and I stayed with my mom. My mom had seizures, really bad seizures. And I was only 9, so, you know, she would have seizures in the bathroom, or, you know, taking a shower, and I'd have to go in there and, you know, drag her out and get her dressed, and at the time my mom was a heavier set woman, and I was a 9-year-old skinny little twig, and that was a really hard time in my life, because I was really young, and that was a lot for me to take in, because there had been so much going on between her and my dad, that it got to a point when my dad would pick me up for a visitation. I didn't want to go with him, because I felt like I had this, you know, loyalty I had to have with my mom, because my sisters, you know, both went to live with my dad, and they were older. By the way, I have 2 sisters. I have one sister, she's 3 years older than me. The other sister is 5 years older than me, and they're both 2 of my best friends. We're really close. So yeah, so, you know, after that, I went through my childhood. You know, I did the whole rave thing. You know, I for the most part kept my innocence. I did, you know, act out here and there, but up until about 17, I met this guy. At the time, you know, I was into the tattoos. Well, obviously, still am, but I was naive into the tattoos, where I thought tattoo artists were the coolest, and, you know, anybody that had a bunch of tattoos was just so hot, and blah blah blah, and just, my mind was still at an immature level at that time in my life. So I meet this guy. This guy, me and him dated on and off until I was 20. About, I'd say, a year into this on and off relationship, he became very physically abusive. I always thought that if I got into an abusive relationship, I would say, you know, oh, if a guy ever hit me, I'd beat the crap out of him, blah, blah. But when it actually happened, it's different. It's different. You know, it's not what you picture in your head. It's you're like almost hurt. You know, you're laying there like, how could you physically harm me? Like, what? You know, I thought you loved me, kind of thing. And I was, like I said, I was 17. I was young. This was over 10 years ago. God, I'm getting old. But yeah, so this was becoming, the more he got into this drug world and this drinking, it was pretty much almost every night I was, you know, laying there going to sleep, like, am I going to get woken up with a phone, you know, point blank thrown at my face, or, am I gonna, get woken up and him just be, dragging me by my hair? Like, it was bad. It was really bad. And I kept going back. And me now as a person, I think back and I'm like, what were you doing, Sam? Like, I would never put up with that now. But again, I'm not who I was then. But it really took a toll on me, and my family kind of, disconnected me because they didn't understand why I stayed, why I kept going back. And he abusers, what I've found out is they like to isolate the person they're abusing. So I didn't have a phone. The phone I did have was like this little flip phone, like prepaid, and he'd pretty much have it unless I left the house, and he'd want to know where I was at, which wasn't often. So there had been nights where I had run out of his house because I didn't want to get, my ass kicked. And I slept on people's porches, and I slept outside in the rain. It was bad, and it really messed me up for a while. So when I hit about 20, as this was going on, he was cheating on me all the time. Like, we'd get in fights, and he'd send me text messages of my friends, like nudes of my friends that I thought were my friends, and family members. And I was just, I don't know, man. I don't know why I dealt with any of that, but I thought I was so in love. And seeing back now, I'm like, no, I was naive and I was infatuated. I was in love. So I hit 20, and there just came a point where, one night it just got really bad, and I took off running down the street, and I found some friends that were nearby, and I was just done. That was it. The next day, I got my stuff. I moved out. I moved, like, away from him, so far away he couldn't find me. I got a new phone. I went and got a job because he didn't want me working, so I wasn't working, so I went and got a job. I just completely was done. When I was done, I was done. It took me 3 years of on and off, but when I was done, I was done. And I see this boy, I would call him because I wouldn't call him a man, years later. And he looks me in the face and acts like he didn't know what I was talking about when I brought it up. And that's another thing I've noticed about abusers is it's either they don't want to remember, and in their mind it didn't happen the way that it really happened, or they just lie. I'm not sure which one it is, but every abuser I've ever met denies it, even though the person they've done this to is sitting right there with proof in their hands. They're still like, I didn't do that. So I get out of that relationship, and I hit 21, and I think from that it caused me to become this angry person. Like, I was feeling vulnerable and like a victim for 3 years of my life that I wanted to take control. So I found myself, I was getting in fistfights all the time. Every time I'd go out, the smallest thing would happen and I was ready to go. And that went on for years, that I was just doing dumb things. I was spiraling down. And now I look back and I know I had some trauma that I should have worked through, and I didn't. Instead, I was just like, oh, I'm done. I carry on with my life. But no, because around when I hit 22, I think right when I hit 22, I hit like rock bottom, very rock bottom. I look in the mirror and, my hair is half black, half pink, which was like my favorite hair color. I'm not gonna lie, I really do liked it. But I'm like looking in the mirror and I'm seeing this girl who I don't know. I don't know this girl. And, she's got a black eye, her knuckles are, bruised up and scraped up. She's got some other, bruises on her body, and she's not sober. And that was it for me. So that day I looked in the mirror and didn't know who I was. That was it. I was like, I'm done. I'm done being this person. I'm done doing the things I'm doing because it's not me. And I don't even know who I am anymore, but I know that this person isn't me. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's two ways people get sober, for the most part. And that's either you hit very rock bottom and you realize that you need to get your shit together, or, you know, you go to AA meetings and work through the program. For me, it was hitting rock bottom. It was looking in the mirror and not recognizing myself. So I was 22. I was still young. So after I kind of got my stuff together, I meet this guy, and his name was Corey. He was somebody, when you meet him, he's hard not to like. You know, he was just very happy all the time and smiling, and he rode street bikes and big lifted truck, all these things that I was into at the time. And I was like, oh, I really like this guy. I ended up being with him for just a little bit under 3 years. Like, not on and off, like 3 straight years. We decided pretty early in our relationship that we wanted to have a child. And because I have endometriosis, it's very hard for me to have a child. I have to. Don't get me wrong, I have two. But those are both my miracle children. And we tried for an entire year to have a child. And finally, when I had just given up, I was like, I can't. I just can't have a baby. I get pregnant with my daughter. While I was pregnant, things kind of got rocky in our relationship. I think something in him told him, maybe, I mean, it's hard for me to say, but that, you know, she's pregnant, she's not going anywhere, and so I'm kind of can act a certain way, and she wouldn't take off like she would have done if she wasn't. I think, you know, I can't speak for another person. So our relationship is a little rocky for my pregnancy, and once I have my daughter, and you know, the experience, it was a C-section. It's not what I really wanted to do, but it's what we did. And because I have a panic disorder, a very bad panic disorder, I have to be on medications to function, or else I can't. I've been to therapists. Some people say, you know, it's because you've been through a lot of trauma in your life. Some people say it's just genetic, because my mom has the same thing. So it could be a factor of both. So they're, you know, I'm freaking out. They're about to cut me open. I'm like, can't breathe. I can't get it together. And they're just giving me medication after medication. And I'm like out of it. By the time my daughter comes out and they're handing her to me, I'm like, don't hand her to me. I'm fucked up right now. Like, you guys gave me a lot of something. I'm not really sure what, but too much of it. And now I'm like scared. And my daughter was just a little under 7 pounds. She was tiny. She's always been kind of small. She's stocky, but she's like shorter. So I had my daughter, and the first 3 months, I got really bad postpartum anxiety. Now, this is different than postpartum depression. I wasn't depressed. I didn't feel like I wasn't bonding with my child. It's kind of the opposite. I was so like worried about something happening to her that I couldn't sleep. I was constantly like, is she crying? You know, for something serious? All the time. I was worried all the time. So it kind of changed me as a person for a while, because when anxiety takes over you and that's all you can feel, it's hard to show any other kind of emotions. But I loved my daughter so much. Like, my whole world was her. She was it. Like, I couldn't believe that I got to have this perfect child, you know. So I was on cloud 9, but I was also, like I said, very paranoid as a parent. Like, every time she'd go to sleep, I was checking her breathing like every 5 minutes. So we have my daughter, and I nursed her for the first, I think, 2 months. And so I snapped back to my body pretty quick. So what I had felt is, after I had her, I started to get that confidence back, you know? So I was like, oh, and now I was starting to get attention, you know, when we'd go out, people would now look at me because I'm not this huge pregnant chick. I was back to my normal size, and it was kind of drawing me away from my fiance at the time. Me and Corey had gotten engaged way prior to having my daughter. We hadn't gotten married yet. So, and by the way, I'm aware that I say a lot. I do that in real life too. It's a habit. I can't help it. Hopefully you guys don't mind it that much. But anyways, so yeah, so I have my daughter, and I'm so in love with her, and I'm trying to be the best mom I can. I just turned 24, so I was still pretty young, but you know, I was doing my thing. I had 2 Great Danes. My female Great Dane got pregnant right before I had my daughter, and gave birth to 13 puppies when my daughter was not even 2 months old. So now I have a brand new baby and 2 Great Danes and a Basset Hound, which I had my Basset Hound at the time as well. He was a puppy. And then 13 Great Dane puppies in my house. And so it was hard. And you know, it was really hard. So me and Corey had decided that we wanted to move to Washington. Now, Washington is where my sister Erica lives. I call her my twin because she looks a lot like me. She's a little older. And my mom lives there. So I'm like, oh, we can, you know, we'll move there. My mom will watch the baby. I can go back to work, you know. That's our best option because daycare is fucking expensive. So he's like, okay, you know, we'll go there. So we go there. We are there for about a month. And then it's just, right before we went there, we eloped. I didn't tell my family. They were fucking pissed. Excuse my French, but they were pissed. And we kind of just like spurred the moment, got married. Thinking back on it, maybe it wasn't the best choice because I always wanted like a real wedding. And I'm not sure, like I said, after you have a baby, it takes you a while to get back to your normal self. And I think part of that was me being okay with just going to get married in Vegas really quick and then, you know, coming back like nothing happened. So we did that, then we moved to Washington, and we're there for about a month. And this is Washington State, not DC. We're there for about a month, and I just wasn't feeling the way I used to feel about my husband at this point. And I can't tell you, and still to this day, I can't give a definite answer on why, but I didn't feel it anymore. I didn't feel that feeling anymore. Part of me had hope that moving and starting over would give me that chance to feel that again, but I didn't. And I had to sit down and tell him. And in my mind, it wasn't like, I'm not going to be with you ever again and I don't want to be with you now. It was more of, right now, this is not what I want. I need to get back to finding out who I am. I just, you know, my daughter was 4 months at the time, and I sat him down and I told him I still want to be a family. I still want to have family dinners. I don't want this to be bad. I want this, you know, to be cordial. I want us to, and I had found like a place to rent. So I was just like, I already found a place. Me and we're going to stay there. I would never keep you from your daughter. I need space. I need to figure out, you know, find me again. Because all I am is a mom, and I need to know who Sam is as well. And when I said those words to him, I watched his heart break. And it made me feel like crap. I felt like a terrible person, but I had to sit there and think it, what's best for me? Not to sound bad, like I'm only looking out for myself, but it's not fair for me to stay around if I'm not truly happy. So he was really upset. And there were certain things and certain times that had happened in between that day and the next day that I don't wish to discuss with the world because of what the outcome was. That is my daughter's father, and I don't want to speak ill about him or his family. With that being said, the next day I go to work. I drop my daughter off at my mom's house because my mom was a daycare provider my whole life, so she's babysitting my daughter. She calls me around, I'd say like noon, and I'm like, hey, what's up? She's like, oh, Corey just picked up the baby. I legally can't tell him he can't. And something in my stomach was like, something's not right. So I call him, or he's not answering, so I text him, like, where are you? Like, where's my daughter? What's going on? He tells me, it's okay, calm down. I just want to spend some time with my daughter. Everything that's going on, I think it will make me feel better. I'm like, okay, just please, like, stay in touch with me, send me pictures, text me. He's like, we're going to go to the aquarium. It's going to be okay. I'm like, all right. We'll meet at the house when I get off work at 5 o'clock. And, sorry. It's really hard for me to still talk about. So, I'm sorry. I keep pausing. So I tell him, we'll meet at the house at 5. I get off work, and about an hour before I get off work, he stops contacting me. So now I'm blowing him up, like, where are you? Where are you? Where's my daughter? What's going on? Like, hello? And I knew something bad was happening. So I get to my house, our little house, and I open the door, and my house is completely empty. And the first thing that goes through my head is to check my daughter's room. And when I'm talking empty, I'm not talking like he just took his stuff. He took everything in the house. Everything was gone except for, and my room was like a box of my clothes. Obviously, he didn't take my clothes or anything, but like the furniture, everything. So, which I wouldn't have been mad about because a lot of that stuff he kind of had before we got together. He had like a fully furnished home, so it wasn't like he stole my stuff. It was more like it was our stuff at that point, but my main concern is I need to look at my daughter's room. So I open my daughter's room, the door, and her room's empty. And I knew he took my daughter. And I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you the feeling of that I felt in that moment. It was the most horrific, gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, worst feeling that I could imagine anybody could feel other than losing a child. And I was just like, what? What the fuck? Where is my kid? Like, where's my kid? So I'm calling him and he's not answering at all. So I'm calling my sister, I'm calling the police, I'm posting on Facebook, I'm freaking out, I don't know what to do. And yeah, I think this is a good point for me to stop. And my next video, I'll tell the rest of the story because this story is a long one. But before that, I want to make it very clear that everything that I will explain to you guys, and there is details that I will leave out because of legal reasons, but everything that I will explain to you guys and everything you guys will hear, I want you to know that my daughter's biological father and his parents were very good to my child. And my daughter's grandparents are very good to my child. They're good to me. And I'm talking now and today. It's actually these last 3 years. They're not bad people. And they look at my son like that's their grandchild too. They treat my daughter so well, so good, where she sometimes doesn't even want to hang out with me. She wants to hang out with her papa. But I want to make that very clear before I continue. And the reason I say this is because I have such a strong relationship with them now. And if they see this, I don't want them to think that I would ever try to shine a bad light. I just feel that this part of my story is the most important part, because it has really made me the mom, the woman, the person, everything. It's made me everything that I am, the good and the bad. So I wanted to make that clear. And when I release part 2, and it will be this week, guys, you guys will understand why I'm saying all this, because it's very important to me. But the next video is going to be an emotional one, so for me. So we'll get into it, but I'd like to split them up, because it's a lot for me to go over, and even though I have gotten through a lot of what I've been through in my life, to say it all at one time is very emotionally draining. But I really wanted you guys to know part of me. So this is the first part of me. And of course there's happy times in my life. And right now I live a very happy life. But in between a lot of that was a lot of shit. A lot of shit. And I want you guys to know that I'm a real person, you know, because I feel like on YouTube, on channels, you know, all you see is this person behind this mask. For the most part, they give you what you want to see, you know, and I want you guys to see me as a real person. And maybe some of you guys can connect with me with things I've been through. And if you can, I mean, you feel free to reach out to me. You can ask anybody I know. I'm always there to talk to anybody that's been through things that I've been through. So on that note, hold on. Mommy duties call, and I gots to go. But thank you guys if you've sat through this whole thing and listened to me go on and say probably 1,000 times. I appreciate you, and I hope you subscribe, and I will release part 2 in a couple days. So I adore each and every one of you, and I'll see you guys in a few days.